The meta is very vibrant right now. It is week 1 of Blossoming Fate, and many decks are feeling very playable right now in the ladder. Don't worry, by the way, if you are playing on a bit of a budget or you don't have many of the new cards. We're going to get into which of your old decks are still very viable in this video. So I'm going to break down what's changed, what the meta tiers look like. I'm going to give you all the deck codes as well, and I'll make sure that I post links to all the decks as well if you for that instead of the QR codes. So with that said, guys, let's just jump straight in. Just bear in mind that it is week 1, right? So take it with a pinch of salt. Things are going to obviously move fast and change, but this should be pretty cool. I'm going to bring you a lot of decks today, so let's go. All right, this is what the meta looks like, guys. I've updated this a little bit for the Blossoming Fate, so I hope you appreciate the new look. Hope you enjoy this. Basically, what I'm going to do is just start with the S tier. This is the meta. This is the absolute powerhouses out of the gate. All of these decks have changed somewhat, so make sure you check out the decks I'm going to go into in a second. I'm going to also put timestamps on this video, so I understand that things like a snapshot are probably used more as a tool, and you probably want to jump back and forth between bits. So I'll make sure to do that as well. Right, so what is S tier? Bearing in mind, I said it is week 1. We've got Puppet Portal, which is flying out of the gate, and a couple of key new cards have taken what was already a pretty much a top tier deck and enhanced it even more, in my opinion. Loot Sword hasn't really dropped a beat despite the nerf of Tablet. Earth Rune is still there. People are just starting to go back to Earth Rune now. I mean, obviously you get people playing a lot of new decks when things first when they first launch. Obviously the new cards, people want to try them out, but actually the Earth Rune, even without any changes, is still S tier, so make no mistake about it, hasn't gone anywhere. The big news though, guys, is that Dragon is finally here. It's finally arrived, guys. What are we, 6 months in now, and Dragon's actually playable. Funnily enough, Dragon actually has quite a lot of different archetypes now that are playable, and we're going to get into some of those today. Got some spicy decks for you, but look, in S tier right now, I have to put Ramp Dragon and Evo Dragon there. Now, this may change, guys. Like I say, it's very early days, but you have to go with what we're seeing. Like, what we're seeing is lots and lots of people hitting GM with Ramp Dragon very fast. Lots of people posting top tier Grandmaster scores with Evo Dragon. Yeah, it has to be there for now, guys. It's like keeping pace with the other big 3 in terms of ladder scores. We obviously haven't had any tournaments, but even just before the patch in the Grand Prix final, we saw Yuri take things down, and he actually ran Evo Dragon, and Evo Dragon, that was before the boost from the new set as well. So let's take a look at the decks, and then I'll come into the other tiers as we go. So this is Puppet Portal, guys. It's just an absolute beast, right? Orcus's Reach and Beelzebub doing extra damage. But the big thing here really is that Imari, the new card Imari, gives you an additional kind of layer that the deck didn't have. You know, playing these 1-drop spells out and producing a massive board, clearing their board, drawing some of these 1-cost spells, just help you through the deck. So it's very, very powerful. And lots of people hit GM very fast with this deck. Show Reborn as well just gives you even more storm damage, and again with Beelzebub, that's just disgusting. So yeah, if you want something that hasn't changed too much, just like adding a couple of new cards, and you want like a somewhat linear game plan, then this is for you. Next up, we got Loot Sword. Obviously, they dropped the tablet, but they've picked up things like World of Games, and Splendor as well is a good 3-drop because you can use it to remove an early, 2 health follower, for example, or it gives you essentially 2 draw. So you don't end up losing too much from the kind of loot play, to be honest. And if anything, maybe it gives you even more flexibility with the ability to, to destroy just something rather than just draw. So yeah, Loot Sword hasn't lost a beat. It's incredibly powerful. And Earth Rune, again, like I said, there are different versions you can run. You can tweak, do you want 1 copy of Enchanting, Perfumer? Do you want 2 copies of Lilanthem? You can switch 1 or 2 cards, but this is the shell. This is what it looks like. It's still very powerful. And here is Ramp Dragon. Now, guys, this was the first deck that kind of surprised people out of the gate. I think one of the earliest people to hit GM used this deck, and there's many people that have had success with it already. I do think the new Jellyfish Dancer and the new Sloth of the Crest Petal are massive for Dragon, actually, specifically for this class, right? Like, it's really helped the early game, and I think all the Dragon archetypes have benefited from these cards. Jellyfish pretty cool as well. The ability to play it on Enhance on 4 to get a Bane unit as well is actually very powerful. It's a very good late game card, as well as early game. And yeah, the Ernst has proven to be one of the most effective 10 drops in the game so far. The flexibility of it, you know, to be able to beat down or to defend is very powerful. So this deck is doing very, very well. And yeah, if you like a sort of ramp into storm kind of approach, then this is for you. And then this is the Evo Dragon, and things like Crest Petal we'll talk about has impacted Dragon quite a bit. Basically making every Mega Lorca attack for 3 damage instead of 2 actually adds up to be quite a big difference over the period of a game. What's happened with Evo Dragon, though, is we've pretty much started to refine this now into a triple Sandolphin win con. And so it's becoming a bit more streamlined. This version still has 1 copy of Ernst in there. You'll notice we dropped the other 10 drops. Just doesn't need them anymore. And again, the early drops are very, very powerful here. Playing Olivia, obviously getting double Super Evo off, just helps trigger the Sandolphins and whatnot. And it's got a nice mixture, right, of heal and damage. Obviously, Neptune is the big heal enabler, and then all of the Mega Lorcas. So Evo Dragon, a lot of pros playing this right now on ladder and doing really well with it. Okay, so moving on to Tier 1. Again, guys, the 4 tiers here, these are all good decks, right? There aren't any decks here that are terrible. You can win with every one of them. Tier 1 are very strong decks. You'll definitely be able to pick up wins against S tiers with it. Just a slight notch below in power level, but not too much of a drop-off from the S tier. We have a brand new archetype in Odd Haven, which is great to see, right? The direction for Haven. Ocean Dragon, really making use of some of the new cards and playing slightly more aggressively and making use of the Mega Lorca in particular. Combo Roach has had very few but a very important new tool added to it. Evo Sword. Again, it's Evo Sword and Evo Dragon, in my opinion, are very, very close. I think the thing with Evo Sword is there's about 3 or 4 versions that are being tested and trialed at the minute. So it's going to be interesting to see where Evo Sword lands. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up seriously competing for an S tier slot, but we'll have to wait and see. Agua Sword is not a new archetype, but maybe a revitalized archetype that has flown out of the gates, and the addition of Chariot has seen this thing become very, very powerful. Mid Abyss, there's like 1,001 different versions, but the ability to switch between kind of like beatdown or kind of control and heal the board is always a kind of nice sweet spot for this. An Egg Portal is a deck I continue to personally be useless with, but always lose to when I play against it. It's in a really good slot. It's picked up some really nice new tools. And Mode Abyss, you know, I think Mode Abyss has fallen off a tiny bit, but it's ultimately still powerful, and it has received 1 new tool. I'm going to show you the decks right now. Let's jump into it. So this is the Odd Haven, guys. So Odd Haven is a totally new archetype. And why is it the top of Tier 1? Well, honestly, I think that this is a deck that could end up being the best Haven archetype and potentially even an S tier deck. There are some people posting very high scores with it, long win streaks, but it's very, very new, and it's not an easy deck to play. So people are still learning and refining it, but once we get there, I think this could be super powerful. It's all based around the 7-cost Cookie Shiro, and once this is played, you get a permanent crest. And then every time you draw a odd numbered card, and you'll notice that every card in the deck apart from Jian is odd numbered, we will basically automatically summon either a 2/2 Storm unit or a 1/3 Ward unit. And it's insane, guys. Like, it's just infinite value, basically. And of course, all those little things can be buffed by Jian if you're wondering why we're playing that. So this deck is very fun because a lot of these 3-cost cards, right, that draw cards, now get a new meaning, because now they're essentially saying draw cards and deploy these units, which is absolutely busted for 3 cost, right? So Kikishiro just like transforms a lot of these units for sure. And obviously Troon as well, the heroic visionary, giving you easy access to drain with the amount of the amount of artifacts that we've got in here in the Gilner Lease. So that's plenty of heal in the deck as well. It's a very powerful deck, guys. I do like this deck, and it's definitely one that you can expect a full guide from me on very soon. So yeah, again, if you're looking for something new to play, like the Oddhaven, Ocean Dragon is a somewhat new archetype as well. And what's pretty cool is the Fan of Otomi, which has been around for a long time, right? It's actually it actually produces a marine card, right? So that means that when we've got Yube Crest Petal down, the crest that gives the buff actually applies to the fan. So instead of doing 2 storm damage to face every turn, you can now do 3 storm damage to face every single turn. And of course, you're playing the Neptune. You've got access to every Mega Lorca available pretty much, from the Jellyfish, the Call, the Ocean Rider, the Ubes, the other Neptunes, the Season Merman. So this is just Mega Lorca Central, hence the name Ocean Dragon. And you've still got a really, really nice curve. You've still got your Gaius for your Super Evos. You've still got Ernst and Forte to finish off the game. So this is a great deck. I know a lot of people have climbed with this. So definitely, if you're looking for a kind of stable type of dragon to play, then give this a shot first. All right, this is Combo Roach, and I think Taya raced to the top of the Forest class rankings with this exact version. And as you can see, not too much to write home about here. It's classic Combo Roach that we've seen forever, except for it now has Moroku Swarm Petal in there. So I think what this does is just help out Roach with some of those like awkward mid-game tables that they might have, your opponent might have pressured you and made you use valuable resources. Now you can use Moroku to kind of and it's a Swiss Army knife, right? Do you need damage? Do you need fairies to help combo something? It fits very, very well, especially because a lot of the removal stuff in here does rely on combo, like Lily and May. So yeah, Moroku also, of course, can help with Roach as well. So it's just a very, very good card to fit into this archetype, and this is probably still the most powerful Forest deck. So here is the Evo sword. Now, as I say, there's a few different ways you can build it. I've seen a more low to the ground version of it, where you run the 6 costs that when you draw them, they only cost 3, and they get rush and draw a card, which is insane for 3. So I've seen that version. You can go more old school. This is slightly more old school with the triple Knights and the Amalia. I've even run a unit. I've even run a version with a chariot, actually, which did pretty good. Either way, I think the shell of this deck is pretty much the same, right? Being able to reach the Skybound art, so you can trigger Sephiron with Luminous Mage combo, for example, is a very, very powerful one. Zirconia showing up the early game. Yeah, it's just infinite value. You just keep putting down so many boards that your opponent just eventually can't deal with it. And Gildaria getting free Super Evos, the Golden Knight getting free Super Evos. It's crazy. I think this deck is very, very powerful. And like I say, once the final best version of it gets sorted, it could even be higher. The thing is sort of just so good right now that it's almost like, which sword deck do you want to play, right? And speaking of which, here's the aggro sword that's been taking the ladder by storm in the first couple of weeks. We are seeing people smashing through the ranks and climbing ladder with this. And basically it gets on board early and it just never stopped. And because you've now got the Raging Chariot, you play this down, you evo it, and it does 21 damage. It does 3 lots of 7 damage. Now, I have had opponents do 21 damage to their own face in a deck in a game they were winning. I've also done 21 damage to my own face in a game I was winning. So it can obviously go backfire. If you don't like that kind of RNG, it reminds me of Ragnarok from Hearthstone a little bit. But look, it's very powerful. There's no doubt about it. You can easily get your opponent down to 14 damage, and then you can chariot and just win the game half the time. So very quick. If you want quick games and not too many of the new cards, this is a good one for you. Mid Abyss, As I say, lots of different versions, but the big thing to talk about here is the addition of Tyrannical Fists and the Fickle Necromancer. The Fickle Necromancer is just a very quick way of getting go wide units down, and it's not got a bad Evo ability as well. But Tyrannical Fist, just another 3 damage to face. So if you think about that, you've got 3 fists, 3 Rage of the Serpents. That's like 6 cards that essentially are putting 3 damage straight to face. Yeah, you can beat your opponent down super fast with this, and you've still got things like Undead Soldier into Cerebus as a really nice burst kind of finish as well. So yeah, very good deck. And again, if you just want something kind of a bit more simple, a bit more straightforward and linear and quick, fast games on ladder, this is a good one for you. Egg Portal. Now, as I say, I personally need to seriously learn how to play this deck properly, because I do lose against it quite often, especially this season. I think this is like kind of low-key, very powerful deck right now, and I think that the new cards, like the ability to draw new cards, Imari being able to put your Devastating Soprano into hand, for example, is a nice one, but also playing out these 1-drops and sifting through your deck quicker, World of Games doing its thing. The main weakness of this deck was not drawing the tools it needed, and now it's just basically being given loads of new ways, and cheap ways as well, by the way, to do that. And this particular version actually saw Yuri, our new world champion, playing. So, you know, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. And yeah, go and definitely check out if you want a different way to play Yuri. There is the QR code. Next up, we've got Mode Abyss. Now, guys, I did run a guide on this, so I'll let you go and check out the link. If I remember, I'll put that link just above here and on the top right of your screen. It's a classic Mode Abyss, except for a couple of things. We are running the Wing Servants and the Fidel in this version, and I think that really helps, particularly right now against all the aggro decks. And in addition to that, you've got the new Life Stealer. So if you are starting to see the Rune S tier decks coming back, which they are now starting to come back into play, Life Stealer just gets better because it's so good against Lilanthem, right? And it never used to have an answer, a clean answer to Lilanthem, and now it does, and that's basically putting Mode in a very strong place. And we've also got 2 copies of Belial in here just for that uber late game alternative win con, but also just for the AoE, right? The AoE is very strong in that, and when you're playing against all these Evo decks as well, where they put up quite a lot of kind of wide mid sort of size bodies, then Belial just eats those boards for breakfast. Okay. So that is tier 1, guys. Let's talk about tier 2 now then. So tier 2, we are still seeing good decks. Some of your old decks are in here. Maybe they just haven't benefited quite as much from the new cards. And again, they're good decks. They're only one slight notch, I would say, below the tier we've just talked about. Now, Fenny Control is super powerful. And again, I'm being quite conservative here, because I know that there are some people who think that this is now a tier 1 deck. I've put it at the top of tier 2. I made a guide for this deck called This Should Be Illegal, because like its high roll potential is absolutely insane. But I think the real thing to talk about there is that it's actually got better against, in the early game, against like aggro stuff. Anyway, we'll show you the deck in a second. Tempo Fairy has improved as well with some new tools. Wardhaven's got a couple of new tools as well. And especially if we do see things like Combo Roach and Forestcraft picking up, then Wardhaven is a really hard counter to that. Spell Boost hasn't gone nowhere, guys. It's the old, some might say boring version, but it's still very powerful, and it would be wrong to just say it's gone down any further than this just because it's old. Cresthaven, I think, has suffered a little bit from, you know, what we're seeing from the new stuff, so that comes down. Womdus has actually got better. Some people might have Womdus actually above Spell Boost. It might be more towards the top of tier 2. But we need a little bit more time to see how it plays out. And Evo Forest is one of my favorite decks. I actually really enjoy this deck. I've seen a couple of interesting versions. I do want to come back to it, and I've got several versions on my channel if you want to see the different ways it can be played. Let's take a look at the list. This is the Fenny Control. Again, I'll try and put a link in the top right of your screen, but go and check out that guide. It's called this should be illegal. It's got some insane games on there, so I definitely encourage you to go and watch that. But it's pretty cool. I mean, I've put it top of tier 2 for me. Obviously, it still is susceptible to being beaten down, and I think the S tier decks in particularly on this list still have this deck's number. But I've seen people at GM posting like 14. I think one person had a 14 win streak with it. So it's absolutely no joke. And the addition of things like Sloth of the Crest Petal, you know, do really help it out just surviving that early game. But also Ernst as well, right? Because this deck, once it recovers, like playing an Ernst down and getting 8 heal, for example, and clearing the board, that can be the thing that turns the table. And that's what this deck needs. It's losing, and then it suddenly turns the table, right? And Fenny's discounted everything, and then it just becomes super powerful. And Ernst really helps with that. Also, Fate of the World's a nice addition as well. And you've also even got the new card, Jetanu, as well, because obviously when you have those games where you like double Fenny, you just play this, discard your hand, draw 80 cards, and they all cost nothing. Insane. Anyway, go and see the guide. This is Pixie Forest. Also got a guide up again, if I remember. Check out the top right of the screen, or go and find the Pixie Forest guide on the channel. But this deck, to my mind, has always been quite a good, fast deck. And if you don't like Combo Roach, it's slightly less sophisticated, but it's a really fun deck to play. And it's one of my favorites for kind of quick ladder games on Forestcraft. By the way, this deck can definitely pick off wins against a lot of the decks that are higher ranked right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if this goes up a little bit, up my meta snapshot as we see the meta unfold. It's very fast, and I do think Wolfrod is particularly cool here because this deck was always pretty good, but it ran out of steam, and what Wolfrod does is just basically give you steam. It steals 5 cards from your opponent, so you can turn your opponent's win cons on them quite often, which is fun. It's particularly funny against Forest because all the cards that you steal have great synergy with what you're doing. But yeah, it's a very, very effective and quite a fun deck to play. Next up, Wardhaven. Here we go, guys. It's got a couple of additions in the Prescient Priestess and Sophia as well. So it has definitely showed up the early game a little bit, which is pretty good. You've even got the Immovable Paladin, which, you know, when you've played Wilbert and you play the Immovable Paladin, it's pretty insane, like the amount of stats that you get. It's kind of just another massive wall that your opponent has to deal with. So yeah, I actually think that Wardhaven is still there as a great counter to Forest, and it's picked up a few new tools. But there are, you know, a lot of other decks, certainly at the top of the meta that we talked about, do have some good answers to it. So if you're a Haven enjoyer or a hardcore fanatic, try this version. Here's the Spell Boost rune. Not too much to write home about, guys. You've seen this all year. But the William input is the big one here, because again, there's quite a lot of mid-range bodies in the meta at the minute, and William just eats those boards for breakfast. So quite a nice tech. And then we've got the Crest Amulet. Again, nothing too new to write home about here, but there's the QR code. So if you do want to play Crest for some reason right now, we've got all these new cards to play. This is a nice list for you to try. All right. Now, Womdus is really getting there now. I think it has picked up some new cards. As I say, I might have this a tiny bit lower down in the tier 2. I tried to put the more powerful ones to the left. Work from left to right. That's how you should read my meta snapshot. Maybe this is a bit higher, I don't know. But what I do want to say here is things like Ara Dawn Blossom, ultimately costing you often 0 or very cheap, right, after you've spell boosted it away. And then it's just a much better Blaze Destroyer. And it also gives you, along with Blaze Destroyer, those big bodies for Womdus to kind of barrier up, right? So you can create some insane boards here. I think this is pretty cool. I actually might play a little bit of Womdus spell this season. It's not an archetype I've got into much, but even things like the new Wood Song as well. I think some of these new cards really, really add to Womdus. So I'm keen to give this deck a try. And this is Evo Forest. I've played a little bit of this version. I saw someone have some real success at Grandmaster level with it. So I've played this version. It's kind of nice. I wouldn't mind experimenting with dropping 1 Aria Lady of the Woods and putting 1 9-drop Congregant in. But other than that, I can see how this list works really, really well. Miroku, again, is just an absolute mid-game powerhouse. Definitely one of the best Forest new cards. And I like that we're using Aria as the win con here. It's something I remember Dayan introducing in the last set. But the fact that we can now draw through with things like World of Games, I think we've got the combination still with Sandolphin, Kupitan, obviously the Dancing Duo giving free evolves every turn, and we are refreshing those evos. This just seems really powerful. Even the Alphamere then to like boost all the fairies once Lady of the Woods is down. There's just a few more alt win cons with this particular version. By the way, check out my channel if you want to see some of the alternative Evo Forest versions. Did quite a few guides on this, but this does look very, very good. So I don't know how powerful it's going to be. It may end up being a bit higher, but I need to test it more. Okay, so that is tier 2, guys. And obviously, last but not least, we have tier 3. Now, we're getting a little bit into some of the real memey or slightly untested things. I've got Evo Abyss here because I do feel like Evo Abyss is just a bit slow and it's dropped off in comparison to the other decks. It's still a good deck, but it's just not quite where it was when it first launched. And then we've got some very, very new archetypes. So we'll get into those in a second. Guys, there are things like Artifact, Odd Dragon, Izudia Control. I'd probably put in tier 3. I'm not going to go into them. You can see my past guides if you want to go and check them out. There's not really much to say on them for now. But let's take a look at some of these new spicy lists in Milto, Abyss, Full Rune, and Shakudo Casino. All right, so there's the Evo Abyss QR code if you want to play that. It's very good against Abyss, and it's very grindy as well. Lots of heal, so yeah, if you want that, there you go. But here's the Milto Abyss, right? Now, Milto Abyss is kind of like a new archetype, and we're trying to make use of being able to bring back the 4-drops, which is why we play like Yuna and Exilia, Mukon. And it kind of fits well into a kind of aggro version as well, and the combo with Dogged One is really interesting. And that Tyrannical Fist making an appearance as well, giving you the beatdown. I also think Monster is a great card, actually, and especially because it was worded incorrectly. It actually gets its buff, even if you've got an opponent's got a card of the same cost, and it also gets its buff from World of Games. So it's worded incorrectly. It's actually a really good 1-drop. This is a fast deck, guys. I haven't played it much yet, so one I want to get to and hopefully do a guide for you. Full Rune. This is a lot of fun. I have played some of this. In fact, it was the first deck I played in the new set. It's all based around Leoncall, and it's really cool. You play the tablet down, you thin your deck, and then you play Leoncall and Super Evo it, and you just get loads of copies in, and every time you draw one and play one, it just reduces the max health by 2. I really like that because if you hate heal in this game, I know a lot of people quite have opinions on that. Like if you really hate the fact that your opponent keeps healing, this is the deck for you, right? Because Leoncall just reduces the maximum health that your opponent can have by 2 every time you play one, so that all of their heal becomes obsolete. And a lot of people run heal cards, so it's not a bad idea to make a lot of their cards redundant. The main thing with this, with Full Rune right now, is we need to see what the premium version of the deck looks like. This is a version that's pretty fast and quite all in on that combo. So let's just see how this settles over the next few weeks and see if it can climb any higher. But for now, I've got it in tier 3. Like I said, I don't think it's a bad deck. I've picked up wins with it already. But to find that true consistency, we just need to figure out whether there is a kind of premium version of it. And this is Shakudo Casino. Now, personally, I've not played this deck yet. I still need to get some of the Shakudo cards, I think, for the set. But basically, you'll notice almost every card here costs 2, right? Now, I've also seen a version where almost every card costs 3. Why am I calling it Casino? Because what you do is you kind of discard your hand and then you draw. And as long as you have 4 cards of the same cost, which if everything only costs 2, you will have, then this thing does 4 damage twice. And then you Super Evo and it repeats its ability. So in other words, you can do 16 damage to face. Yeah, that's a lot of damage, but it's not lethal. And it requires a lot of setup around it. So it's a bit weird because you've got to get the 4 chip damage in. And I think that the combination of all of those elements and the restriction on the deck means that that's why I think it's like going to struggle to get higher than tier 3. But it's definitely good, and it can definitely pick up wins against pretty much anything, but the consistency is certainly questionable. And once people understand what's coming, I'm sure they're going to be able to play around it a bit better. But anyway, there's the QR code. Go and give it a shot. Let me know in the comments how you've got on if you've played this so far. All right, so guys, just want to say I really appreciate all the support. We've hit 5K. If you like this type of content, the Meta Snapshot, then check out my other series, which is also based around the meta. It's a short video. It's called Meta Movers. And we just spotlight the key things that are on the rise, you know, decks that are on the rise or have fallen off that week. Maybe some hidden gems that are ones to watch that people are posting good results with. And I also focus on the card of the week as well. So that's which card is like really dictating the meta that week. And so it's like cool sound bites from the meta, and it's ahead of the snapshot too. So if you enjoy that, then go and check out the Meta Movers. Here's the most recent episode that I did a couple of days ago. And that will come out a few days before the Meta Snapshot every week. Appreciate all of you for all of the interaction and the subscriptions recently. The channel has now hit 5K subs, so I massively appreciate that. I do plan to do a live stream once a month as well as a minimum, just to kind of interact a little bit more with everybody on the chat. Yeah, that's everything from me today, guys. Here is the final look of the Meta Snapshot for week 1. Take it with a pinch of salt, and I'll be back giving you all of the updates as the Blossoming Fate expansion evolves. And if you enjoyed this one, check out this video next. Ciao for now, guys.